Look, I apologise. I'm British, so my accent is terrible and my grammar is worse. And nothing scares me more than hearing a Prime Minister in Montenegro who speaks better English than my own Prime Minister. It's quite extraordinary. Crisis management. The only reason I'm an expert in crisis management is I used to work for an organisation which creates more crises per week than any other I know, called the British government. If you work in government, you know this. You know that crises come out of thin air. And what I'm going to talk about is the way that the Club of Venice works as an organisation to share these things, much as the SEECOM Forum will do. So thank you very much indeed for the invitation to speak at this conference and to share what I think is a very special moment in the development of government communication in this region of Europe. It is, I think, without exaggeration, very exciting to be here. Because what you're about to do, which you're about to reaffirm in word and action, is the vital importance of principled government communication to the health and development of democracy. And I'm also absolutely delighted to have the opportunity to offer you the congratulations of the Club of Venice and some thoughts from our own experience that might be useful. Let me tell you a little bit about the club. We are an informal forum for the most senior communication professionals in the governments of the EU's member states, the candidate states, and the 5 major European institutions. But even though it's informal, the club is now more than 25 years old. And like everybody in their late 20s, it is unutterably smug and pleased with itself. And why shouldn't we be? It is the oldest, and I dare say it, the world's leading transnational forum for top government communicators. Maybe because up till now it was the only transnational forum for top government communicators. It's not an ambition we ever had. It just happened. Our first meetings probably saw about a dozen organisations around the table. But our twice-yearly plenary sessions now attract nearly 30 nations from among that group of people I told you about. And our generous host countries, because it all depends on the generosity of our host countries, normally the presidency country in the spring, and invariably in the autumn the government of Italy, because we meet in Venice. They have to find a table that accommodates more than 50 people, representatives of those organisations. And apart from those plenaries, we now have workshops on very specific topics, such as social media campaigns and public diplomacy. So we're broadening ourselves out. And this is the demand from the members. This is not, let me tell you about the club is not some great, exceptionally efficient organisation. We just happened, and we just happen, and we just happen, because we're professionals with a single purpose. One thing we also have a very good website, which I hope we will give you access to, which is stuffed with information and ideas. All of the stuff that appears on our plenaries turns up on our closed website, which is run thanks to the generosity of our members at the European Council. But despite the great increase in numbers that I told you about, we've never lost, I think, our original style. That's what keeps us going. We are pragmatic, we are cooperative, we are informal, and we rely entirely on the goodwill of member organisations for facilities and organisation. It's probably why it works. It works because we want it to work, not because somebody has said it has to work. We didn't get to this point, of course, without all the turbulence that teenagers suffer. Our teenage years were full of turbulence, but now we're looking forward to the next 25 years helping Europe's citizens understand their union. That's what we were originally set up to do. And in particular, we look forward to making new friends and helping them on their path. That's why it's such a privilege and a pleasure to witness this historic moment, the birth of SEECOM Forum. So what should the Club of Venice offer the new kid on the block, particularly a newcomer which clearly promises to make such a determined leap into action? I don't think this is a time for me to stand here and give you portentous advice or pompous instructions. You probably rise up and kill me because you're all consummate professionals and you share the experience that we share of one of the most exciting, interesting, and I think sometimes frustrating jobs in public service. So on behalf of my colleagues across Europe, I'm simply going to tell you about what the club has done and some lessons we have learned. I offer you no prescriptions. I simply hope you'll find it useful. What we have certainly learned to do is to enjoy the task of mapping that common ground we share as professionals, the peaks of achievement, the valleys of struggle, and the enormous swamps of frustration that we often, all of us, have to wade through on occasions. But knowing that we can share those experiences privately and freely and frankly and informally has given everybody who's been a member of the club some extra strength and determination. There are other people out there who are doing it, because as those of you who are government spokesmen know, there is no more isolated job in the world sometimes. You are it. The same is true of ambassadors, really, isn't it? While our great institutions and governments were arguing over Europe's expansion and new rules and money, always money, we managed to keep the club's sights on the things that bind us rather than divide us. And what binds us is this unique role of the government communication professional. The thing I think that SEECOM will find itself discussing quietly over a drink in the dead of night, looking into each other's eyes. Government communicators, I think, sustain a fundamental democratic duty. We strive to help the public understand what our institution is doing for them, for their families, for their communities, and of course, in their name. But at the same time, we strive to help our official colleagues and our ministers understand the public's concerns and reactions. As observers and advisors and providers of a very particular service, I think government communicators stand in a very special place. Certainly in all the ministries and organisations where I worked, only 3 offices had an overview of the organisation. The Senior Minister's Office, the Office of the Chief Civil Servant, and the Communications Department. And of those 3, our experience has been that it's the Communication Department which often has the broadest view. No one watches and evaluates the relationships between the government and its key stakeholders, particularly the public, in the way, ladies and gentlemen, that you do. Understanding that has helped the club create its specific values, its brand, if you like, the thing that makes it work. It's a combination of open-mindedness, an easy style, informality, and robust humour. We do not mind laughing at each other or ourselves. It's a great thing to do. It's an organisation of peers. We have no hierarchy among us. Now, the European Union, the reason we exist, is a wonderful thing. And its institutions, governments are experts in the intricate processes of lawmaking, consensus building and administration. With great respect to all those expert people, the Club of Venice has fiercely resisted any attempt to mirror that monster. We sit as equals, rooting our discussions very firmly in the real world with all its complexities and its turbulence and loose ends. One thing we have learned is that having 27 member states, 5 major institutions, and a clutch of candidate states around the table means that we are dealing with at least 30 different ways of managing and doing things. No one does it the same way, so prescriptions don't work. We endlessly focus on common issues, challenges, outcomes and results, not job titles and structures, because that way lies madness. We endlessly discuss the challenge of finding people with the courage and stability needed to deliver very unwelcome news and advice, the talent to speak truth to power. I think it's one of the tests of someone in this job that they can do that. And certainly sharing the experience of other people helps you do it. We relish the chance to see how others mount complex campaigns to help the public or specific audiences understand new problems, policies and opportunities. We have specific initiatives, as I said, running alongside our twice-yearly plenaries to develop greater understanding, skills and tools in, for example, the vast new world of social media and public diplomacy. If you come to our plenaries, you will see people present to you with how they ran a campaign to reach school children with news about the European Union or anything else, on traffic accidents, how people do it where they need to do it. So you can actually fill it out, the essence of the best professional practice. And we have learned habitually to dismantle barriers of language, culture, and other people's prejudice to reach agreements, even if the agreement that we reach is cordially to disagree. Sometimes we just have to disagree with each other. If you can't do that, it doesn't work. It will give you great opportunities and great responsibility. If it works for us, it might work for you. Anyway, let me end by breaking my own rule with some heartfelt advice based on bruising experience. But it is advice, I'm delighted, that is echoed in the extraordinarily powerful draft declaration before you. It's this. We all know that nothing is certain about the future except uncertainty. And we all know that there'll be turbulent times ahead. We just don't know when. But when they happen, we also know that every government's credibility will be critical to safeguarding the physical and economic welfare of their nation and their people. So, in the work that you do, in the discussions that you have, always apply this test. Do nothing today that will jeopardise your government's future credibility, even a government of a different political persuasion. Never mortgage the future for some short-term advantage or comfort. What we've certainly learned in the club is that credibility is a delicate flower of great value. Growing it is difficult. Killing it is easy. And bringing it back from the dead usually requires human sacrifices, at ministerial level at the very least. You have a great deal in your hands. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want, in closing, to thank you again for inviting me and other colleagues from the club to be here this weekend. The declaration before you is a magnificent call to public service and democratic principles. In fact, it's so good we might just have to steal it from you. And I'm sure I speak for all my colleagues, your colleagues in the Club of Venice, when I say that the declaration is going to be a great investment in the public's trust today, tomorrow, and the foreseeable future. If there is anything we can do to support you, please don't hesitate to ask. It's a privilege to be with you, and the Club of Venice congratulates you on the formation of SEECOM Forum. We are proud to stand with you, and we're ready to help in any way we can. Please don't hesitate to ask, and please accept this invitation to join us at our plenary sessions. And last but not least, the Club of Venice and all its members, and me in particular, wish you many, many years of success. Thank you very much.